Thank you so much, Shanila. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rida Fatima, and I am U-Grad alumni, and I am an electrical engineer by profession. So before going to start our discussion, I would like to call Khadija Mohamud for the welcome remarks. She is the Assistant Cultural Affairs Attaché U.S. Embassy in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Over to you, Khadija.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Rida. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see all of your beautiful faces today during this program. As was mentioned, I'm joining you from Dhaka, Bangladesh. So to our alumni who are from Bangladesh, it's great to see your faces again here and to be part of this conversation. I want to first start off by thanking PUAN, the Pakistan-U.S. Alumni Network. Thank you all so much for organizing this forum and inviting us. I know that you all have been having many important discussions on different pressing issues in the region. And I know that my colleagues here at the U.S. Embassy and I have had a chance to previously engage with all of you through this space. So thank you so much again for inviting me back and for this warm invitation. I want to start off by just, recognizing that the topic of today's session is so important. And I know for many of you, as leaders in your communities who are really doing groundbreaking work when it comes to advancing gender equity and equality, I know that we all are sort of singing the same tune, right? We see the significance and the urgency in the work that we're doing when it comes to our communities and the societies that we live in today. I know that many of us actually are also so happy that we're still enjoying the few moments that we have left of Women's History Month. I know that Women's History Month doesn't just end in March. It's a year-long celebration, as I think many of us would say. But this month is really significant when we think about all the work that we've accomplished when it comes to advancing the rights and also creating opportunities for women and girls around the world. And I think that, there's no better way for us to sort of mark the end of this event this month with this program that's scheduled today. And it is quite remarkable. And there are a couple of things that I did want to mention of the important things that have happened recently, especially I know many of us may have been following that recently, the Department of State held its 16th annual International Women of Courage Awards ceremony. And during that ceremony, our Secretary of State, Anthony J. Blinken, he actually recognized two incredible women who are doing extraordinary things from South Asia. He recognized a prominent environmental rights activist and lawyer, Rizwana Hassan from Bangladesh. And he also recognized a trans woman activist, Bhumika Shrestha from Nepal, who's been doing a lot of important work when it comes to expanding access to medical, economic, and legal services for members of the LGBTQIA+ community in Nepal. So I wanted to start off by recognizing the incredible women like you all who are trailblazers doing amazing work in advancing equity and equality for all. And also recognize that, the activism in this region is being recognized at an international level, right? You all are doing incredible work and the US government is truly honored to partner with you in this global effort to improve and expand access to the same opportunities and resources that all of us should be afforded, right? And with that, I really do want to just emphasize that, again, from our embassy and all the missions around the world, we really are committed to empowering and also meaningfully supporting women and girls in every facet of our communities, right? When we talk about women and girls empowerment, I know for many of us, there's so much that comes to mind, but I think a big part of it is first and foremost recognizing that women and girls are already powerful, right? They have their own agency, they have their own voices, they have their own bodily autonomy, right? They have the right and the means to be able to convey these things, and we need to do a better job of listening, right? We need to do a better job of amplifying their efforts, and that's why you all as alumni play such a really important role in the work that you do on the ground. And I hope that you know that we're excited to see these initiatives that you're leading, right, in your communities so fearlessly, right, with such bravery and courage and strength and thoughtfulness. And, just know that from our side, we're so honored to partner with you and to have this ability to connect with you and amplify your efforts. So with that, I want to just thank all of you for being here today. I want to encourage all of you to stay connected with each other. I think this forum is a great space to share ideas, reflect on experiences, and create new opportunities, right, to support each other across borders in the region. So with that, I want to thank you all again for inviting me to be here, to be a part of the session, and I hope that we have a fruitful and rewarding discussion. So with that, I'd like to pass it back over to our esteemed moderator. So thank you, Rida. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Khadija, for your words. And now we will move on to the brief intro of all the participants. And you can just tell about your exchange program and the major work you are doing. I think we should start with the alphabetical orders. Like, I guess we can start with Ursula first because her name is with A.
Thank you, Rida. First of all, I just want to thank for this. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share my thoughts on this really important deliberation as we mark Women's History Month. I want to thank U.S. Mission in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and more particularly the U.S. Alumni Network in Pakistan for launching these virtual series and bringing the alumni community across South Asia together, of course. I will briefly introduce myself. I'm Archana Gurung, an alumna from this really inspiring leadership exchange program called Community Solutions Program. I have a broadcast journalism and development communications background, and I'm currently associated with Skills for Employment Program to lead its strategic communications and drive its inclusion and learning. I work very closely with the private sector in Nepal, and I'm most excited about sharing how we are expediting equity and inclusion in private sphere in Nepal, as well as learning from the experience of my fellow panel members and the audience here. Turning over to you, moderator.
Next is Israt. Or you can just nominate whoever you want to speak next.
Thank you so much, Nida. I hope you can hear me. It's an honor to be here with all of you amazing people. I have been through your bios and I felt so inspired knowing that you guys have been doing so much for such a noble cause. So I'm Ishrat Karim from Bangladesh, and pardon me for the noises and the bad internet connection. Right now I'm outside of my country for some work. So I run a nonprofit in Bangladesh named Amal Foundation, and we're working for women's rights, child rights, mostly in the remote shore areas like river island areas, as well as we are working for refugees, Rohingya refugees. So far, we have worked with 52,000 women in the last 7 years, and I have founded the organization, but I have amazing people, 35 people in my team, and all together we're working and making sure gender equality is a must thing in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Israt. You can nominate someone to introduce now.
I would like to nominate Rakshanda Appa from Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for having me. I'm sorry, it's a bit traffic here, so just maybe there will be a bit noise. I'm Rakshanda Ruham. I am running an organization, non-for-profit organization. It's a Pioneer Lab. We work, our expertise is technology and how to empower women with the help of technology. We work with the three target audience: women, entrepreneur, and youth. So particularly when we initiate something, so what we do, we try to involve more women on these projects and how to, divide opportunities for both men and women. So we work with the women entrepreneurs, how to help women entrepreneurs to, how to make women entrepreneurs more successful, and also how to help women in their career, how to provide mentorship in terms of network. And also I attended the Global Entrepreneurship Summit of the exchange program, GS, was women first priority for all. So it was a very woman entrepreneur-centric program. And thank you again for having me. Maybe I can nominate Lakshmi Chaudhary from Nepal.
Thank you. Hello, namaste to all. I am Lakshmi Chaudhary from Nepal. At first, I would like to say thank you to US Embassy Pakistan team, Bangladesh team, and our Nepal also. And also best thank you to Srijan sir for invitation in this program to speak and sharing some of my experience. I am Lakshmi Chaudhary. I am working in Sahar Enterprises Private Limited in Koilali as an admin and finance officer. My research activities is to managing of account and administration while doing day-to-day business and promoting youths of 18 to 14 years for vocational skill development training to generate income for their living. And in addition, also I volunteer in Youth Advocacy Institute, Khet, Kailali, Kanchanpur, about 10 years. I study in my schools with the scholarship provided by REST, and I was part of the Stockholm trafficking program, which are supported by USAID Nepal for 3 years, 2016 to 19. We help to educate about 3,000 adolescent girls in this region through this program. In current time, I am working in Sahar Enterprises. This organization is provide training, especially vocational training, who are 18 to 14 years youth, and they after I think around 390 hours. This training is 3 months organized, and after training completed, we also link with who provide the job, especially who wanted to need good job as a skills. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. You want to nominate someone for the introduction, next introduction?
I want to nominate Kohinoor. Yes, Kohinoor.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Kohinoor Khoyam Tithila. I'm a journalist based in Bangladesh. First of all, I'd like to say that it's such an honor to be among a group of inspiring women. So, like I said, I'm a journalist based in Bangladesh. I have been working as a journalist for about like 8 years. And I studied like 3 different things. Like I did my undergrad in English literature, then I did my first master's in criminology and criminal justice. And then I got this amazing opportunity to study in the US. I studied magazine, newspaper, and online journalism at Syracuse University as a Fulbright scholar. And then I came back to Bangladesh in 2019. And then I started working with Dhaka Tribune. It's an English daily in Bangladesh. I mostly write about gender issues, human rights, social justice, health, and stuff like that. I'm also famous for pitching unconventional story ideas. So I think that's all about me. Thank you. And I'd like to nominate is there anything else there? Mehwish.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rida, for arranging this call. It's such a pleasure this afternoon to be a part of this wonderful opportunity. and seeing beautiful names over the screen. And as the introductions are going on, I believe that I'm a part of a community where beauty comes with a lot of brains. My name is Mehwish Niaz, and I'm from Lahore, Pakistan. I'm an IVLP alumnus back in 2015. I've been associated with State Department for several volunteering opportunities that they've been creating for young women back then. I work in development sector for the past 15 years. My genre have been program and project management with a focus on trainings and monitoring and evaluation. Currently, I'm associated with Laureate Foundation. It's a youth development organization, and we particularly and primarily work with young people from grassroots and rural suburbs and areas where it is not easy for younger generation to access unconventional civic education opportunities. So that's what that I do. Alongside with it, I work as a development consultant, and my work basically focuses on providing the small organizations a chance to develop their strategic communications and plans that can help them enhance their work. So that's it from my side. I'm looking forward to meeting all you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mehwish. You want to nominate someone?
I would like to nominate Palwasha. Yeah, Palwasha.
Hello, everyone. Beautiful people around me. Namaste as well. Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Palwasha. And in terms of the exchange program, I was on the Fulbright program from 2016 to 2021. I received a PhD in educational leadership and policy analysis. And my research, I'm a qualitative researcher, and my research focused on school leaders, K through 12, who were serving marginalized students, including girls, and how they were making their schools more equitable, socially just, and inclusive, and the strategies that they used and the challenges that they faced. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you all. I'd like to nominate Kajal from Nepal.
Thank you, Palwasha. And namaste, everyone. My name is Kajal Pradhan, and I am from Nepal, Kathmandu. I work with an organization called Resist Development in Nepal. I'm leading Resist Development in Nepal as director at the moment, and I was also part of IVLP in 2016 as a part of strengthening civil society. And I'm really pleased to share this space with lots of inspiring women. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And I can also see there are lots of organizations who have a focus on youth, because Resist Development also keeps youth at the center of everything we do. And I'll hand it over to Sejanji.
So, Kajal, would you like to nominate the next participant?
Sejanji, are you there? I'm not sure if he is there. I mean, you are muted if you're speaking. So, okay, probably I'll go with Shohan if he's there. I hope someone is listening to me. Sohanji, are you there? Okay, I don't know who else to go. Wagma. So, can you hear me, Wagma? Over to you, finally. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Kajal, for nominating me. I'm Wagma Feroz from Peshawar, Pakistan, and I'm an IVLP alumna on gender-based violence. By profession, I am a psychologist. By passion, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and inside me is a women rights activist. So whatever profession I adopt, I always advocate for women's rights, women empowerment. And I have an organization with the name of the Torsaro Sadar. It's a Pashto phrase for women empowerment. And I advocate for women's rights, psychological trauma, and theater and documentaries. Last year, I won an international award on one of my documentary, She Makes Everything Beautiful, which is on religious freedom. And yeah, this year, last month, I won Stephanie's Prize. So I wanted to share these achievements with you all amazing women. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Wagma. And who else is left?
Sahar is left.
Sahar is not joining today. She said she had some work, urgent work. I think that's it. So if everyone can turn on their camera for the group photo, then we can move the session forward. So thank you so much. It's really an honor for me to have an interaction with all of these great women. And now I think we should formally start our discussion, as Kajal suggested that we should have a organized question to discuss it. So the question that I will be asking from all of you is that how is your organization addressing the gender equity, equality, and women empowerment issue? So we can again start with, like, if the Kajal want to start it because she suggested the question, and then she can nominate someone to discuss the question afterward.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Rida. Thanks a lot. And I would like to start with thanking the U.S. Embassy in all the 3 countries and giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with the alumni. So I always, because after being in alumni, I always wanted to do something where I can really give back for the opportunity that I have got. And I'm really glad to be in this space today, but I really hope that I could give a lot more in coming days. Well, as a gender equity and equality is an issue, I think, in all the 3 countries at the moment. But I think, to be on a positive side, if we look at where we come from and if we look at where we are now, I think we've come a long way and have a progressive, gender equality and equity sector. But with the restless development, we have been working since last 35 years in the field of youth development and youth engagement. It is a global agency working in 10 different countries directly, but also in more than 40 other countries through its partners and its alumni. So, and I'm really glad to be leading one of the country in Nepal for restless development. So speaking about Nepal's, the gender discrimination is still very high. And it actually starts from each household, whether that's in the cities or in the village or in any rural areas, urban areas, or areas with accessibility. But the difference is the forms of discriminations, and it has been evident that the gender equality actually supports in economic growth and the sustainable development. And to achieve that, it seems we really have a long way to go. But of course, there also has been a growth in achieving the equality, especially in the girls' education. If you look at the data in Nepal, the girls' students' enrollment in the schools has been really high in last couple of decades. Like, if you see from last 10 years, the enrollment rate is like a lot more than 90% at the moment. It's a separate discussion to talk about the retention of those girls in the schools and the quality of education. But today I want to highlight the most severe form of gender discrimination during the menstruation. And in Nepal, especially girls and women are victims of systematic menstruation based discrimination practices called chaupadi, and as the menstruation is considered as impure in some of the religions and in culture in Nepal. So my friends from Nepal knows very well about this practice, but chaupadi means a cowshed, and women and girls will literally have to live in a cowshed for 4 to 5 days every month while menstruating. And this severe form of discrimination is mostly practiced in the far and Midwestern region of the country. And Restless Development has worked to address this issue. And during the chaupadi, the girls and women, they can be banished from public and religious spaces. They can be forbidden to enter the kitchens and have access to nutritious food. They will be isolated from their families, and they are forced to stay in the shades outside their houses together with their cattle, cows and buffaloes, which makes them more vulnerable to their health and safety issues. And this also includes their mental health and sexual assaults kind of vulnerability. So to address the issue and reduce the cases of chaupadi, Restless Development launched a program called Abolition of Chaupadi in Far and Midwestern region of the country, with an aim to reduce incidents of related to chaupadi practices for women and girls and help them having better nutrition and health. And also to provide social support and access to education during their menstruating period. Some of our interventions included supporting community leaders to promote actions against chaupadi, because they are the biggest influencers in the community, and also empowering women and men as well to advocate against those harmful social practices. If we are talking about equity and equality, it's really crucial to bring men on board and for them to understand the facts and reality of these practices. We also worked with local governments and CSOs to ensure a proper response and actions against chaupadi. And we've also delivered a number of sessions in the schools on sexual reproductive health and rights, and about the social harmful practices. So through this project, we have reached more than 45,000 women and girls directly, but engagement of men and boys are also equally important to achieve a just society. And we were able to engage and reach more than 25,000 men and boys in the project. And similarly, the project was also designed in a way to engage the community leaders and the traditional healers. As I said, that they are the major influencers in the community. And we are able to reach more than 15,000 of those community leaders and traditional healers during our intervention. So this was, and this was also possible through 400 young volunteers who were mobilized in the community, both male and female. And as I said in my introduction, we keep youth at the center, and the approach that we take is putting youth at the forefront and leading any project or addressing any solutions that actually matters to them. And as a result, we saw 73% of reduction in the chaupadi practices in the communities that we worked in, and 84% of reduction in the number of women reporting limited access to dairy products or nutritious food during menstruation. And 100% of male community leaders who agreed that chaupadi practices should be eliminated. However, through this project, there are some learnings that we derived that, like one of the major learning was changes in practices do not necessarily challenge the concept of menstruation as a symbol of impurity. Of course, there has been changes where people are living inside the house but not in the cowshed, but the concept of impurity was still there. So even though they can live inside their house during the menstruation, they're not allowed to touch go into the kitchen and are allowed to attend different other social functions. The other learning was improving the living of girls and women is key to address gender-based discriminatory practices. So, and the final one is on the peer-to-peer model that we have used is actually, like the development of this model by local young volunteers is a highly suitable approach to challenge traditionally rooted practices in local communities like these. So these are deeply rooted practices in the communities, and one of one or two projects focusing on these issues are not enough. So to experience the gender equality and equity society by challenging such gender norms would take generations to change. And that is why we work with the young people, because change is only possible through them. So that's all what I have to share, but I'm also happy to respond to any questions you may have. Over to you, Rida. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kajal. You are really doing a great work over in Nepal, and it's very inspiring for all of us too. So who else? You can do you want to nominate someone to address us the question that I asked you for what their organization is doing?
Yeah, I would also really want to hear from Lakshmiji about what, because she comes from a private company background. So I'm really interested to hear from her about what her organization is doing to address the equity and equality issue. Over to you, Lakshmiji.
Thank you, Kajal ma'am. At first, I would like to say about REST. In REST, I work more than 10 years. So I would like to say about REST. REST is a women-led non-profit organization which was established in 1993 to combat girl trafficking, fight child marriage and exploitation also. And the REST organization is most focused to work for the girls' education also, and also child rights and better to improve nutrition also. It's full from its Rural Health and Education Service Trust. This organization main center office in Kathmandu. This organization work in 18 districts, and I work in organization around 10 years. This organization project name is Stop Girl Trafficking, which is one of the parts also I am there. I also got a scholarship from Stop Girl Trafficking when I was read in class 6. And after that, I continued my education from class 6 to bachelor level, which by supporting from REST. And after I completed my bachelor level by the support of REST, I joined in master level. At that time, I also got opportunity to work in the REST program as a volunteer. At that time, I think I remember at that time I worked 2 years as a volunteer. After that, I got opportunity as a field staff, and then I also got opportunity to work as a program officer. At that time, when I work with the REST program, at that time I mostly advocate with adolescent girl women's rights also. And mostly REST provide to those girls who are poor community, who are not invest for their educational material, who are not success to pay school's fee. Our REST mostly work in government school, not private school, because of because of more poor community in rural area, like in hill area and mountain area, and also Tara area. There are focus on rest program is rest is focused on who needed to educational support from the organization. And also I would like to say now I'm working as a private sector because of I think 4 year I work with women who need to training, who want to join income generation topic. At that time I would work with BPW Nepal, and also BPW Nepal is work with women who need who want to create and self business, who want to start a new business, and I work with them, and I also motivated them. At that time I motivated how can we provide vocational skill development training to women, and after training completed, how can they start their new business, how can they start new business, and how can they make the business plan, how can they make the how can they face the challenge in the society, and we advocate them and about women's rights, sexuality and gender rights, LGBTIQ rights, and also we support them. How can they improve their capacity? How can they talk about themselves, self's right, and how can they fight in the society to be strong? And so I work with I think around 1,000 girls and women directly. And they call me if they have any kinds of problem in the family or violences or discrimination. They call me, please help me. How can how can I will take to face the problem? And I suggested them, you can link this in Nepal. Lots of NGOs, INGOs working in to advocate women, to empowerment women. So I link them. And also I suggested them, you can also link with police station if they face any kinds of discrimination or violences, or if they need to directly any kinds of suggest me, and I suggested them. And also I link with police station also if needed, as per case. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Also I would like to add some point also.
Okay.
If many women and girls also wanted to start their business. At that time they need to they have no idea how can the business start, how can to make a business plan, how can they to take the loan from bank, and also how can link with market. If they have any kinds of problem, they contact me, and I also suggested them as for my knowledge. If I have no any idea at that time, I will also link with senior officer which is related women's empowerment and also entrepreneurship sector.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. You are doing a great job, and I also think that a woman should learn some skill to be independent, to so they can live independently in the society. So, would you like to nominate someone to answer the question that I asked you?
Okay, I will see the list. I think I would like to nominate Wagma. Wagma? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the question is how I am, or my organization is advocating for women's empowerment. So through my organization, we use the tool of theater music and documentaries to work for women's empowerment, I would like to share one of my projects. When I was in the university, I conducted a research on verbal harassment and its psychological effects on girls and even on male students. So after that, after the research, we realized that 100% of women, girls are harassed at university, be it verbal harassment or sexual harassment. So after that, I went to the establishment and the management, and we talked to them to establish counseling and anti-harassment cells. And it helped a lot because some of the departments at University of Peshawar, they established those cells and they worked for some time, and then, the system, and now it's not that functional, but like it helped a lot to bring awareness, because we also conducted dialogues among men and women to discuss these issues. Then there is another project which I worked on, was civic and voter education in tribal areas and rural areas where women are not allowed to vote, to have a part in decision making. So we conducted more than 150 theaters in rural areas to aware women how can they cast vote, or how can they have a role making. Then I'm also working on music, because music and these things can bring change more easily than going somewhere and talking and giving awareness to people through talks. So I think people don't really listen to you, but when you do something through theaters or music, then it's very easy that they can bring change in their attitudes or thinking. So recently I worked with a musician. We made a song on girls' education in Pashto, and it was like a hit song. We released it on Women's Day this month. So it was really great. And yeah, I'm also making documentaries on religious freedom and interfaith harmony, because religion is always used against women and girls. Women are restricted from going outside home because they say that it's not allowed in the religion. They misinterpret religion. So we need to work on these topics. We need to interpret the religion and to bring forward those examples which are in the religion, and to show people that religion is not restricting women from education or jobs. Yeah. And I'm also working on some other projects for women human rights, in Swat, where the girls, minor girls, child marriages ratio is very high. So I worked there for 2 years, and we conducted street theaters to aware people about this issue. So I think we need to bring forward these kind of tools which can help to change people's mind or attitudes, and it can also help in bringing change in the policies. So I think we have 2 minutes to discuss these questions. So as discussed, I would like to nominate, maybe, let me check. I'm not very good at remembering names. Yeah. Where is? I saw the one who is from Fulbright. A Fulbrighter.
Palwasha, you're talking about Palwasha?
Yeah.
Thank you, Wagma. I'm also Pashtun, so hello. Okay, so
that's why.
Just a hood. Okay, so I mean, to start off with, I feel like gender inequality and inequity rears its ugly head in, it's present in our society, and it rears its ugly head in many ways. And I believe first, I mean, the way I approach it, or like in my research, when I was doing research with school leaders who were trying to promote more socially just schools, I looked at the actions that they were taking. And, when I came across, a lot of it came into like internally, how do you motivate individuals to actually first acknowledge that they're worthy and, they have a sense of belonging. And then how are they actually taking actions apart from that? Loving and tender care of people so that they're aware of, their rights. And also like, when, as Kajal stated, it's a community approach, and others stated as well, it's not just about girls, it's about the whole community, like the parents or, even the men, right? I mean, even they're kind of, I feel like this inequity, it kind of affects all of us, men, women, I mean, if you're the oppressed or the oppressor, you're both affected by it. So another thing that one of the themes, because I'm mostly a researcher, another theme that the school leaders in these, rural far-flung areas were doing was like, because some of their students weren't, they were first generation students and they had more needs, right? So what they were doing was that they were providing students with additional support and structure in the curriculum, for example, that, they were adapting the curriculum. How do we adapt this curriculum so it's meeting the needs of the students? And how are you providing them with quality vocational education? Because some of the students would come for maybe a couple of years. Some of them were older students who never got the opportunity. As you know, the statistics are pretty high on like student dropouts and enrollment in terms of girls. So how are they making sure that the couple of years or 2-3 years that they were spending time in the school, either they got married or they got into whatever, how are you giving them skills so that their life chances improve after they kind of graduate from, whatever grade that they're in. Also, another thing that they were trying to do was, at the same time, they were building that school community relationship and also keeping students safe from harm. So, some of the strategies that they were applying was like getting, keeping a good relationship with the more influential people in the community. Like, sometimes, I mean, it would be like, the community was, they're poor and it's an underserved community. So what do you do? What do they need to, address those needs of students? For example, if there's, for example, some locals are resisting sending their children to school because, I mean, these school leaders were trying to provide education free of charge to marginalized students, which included girls. And the local community was actually also sometimes, questioning their motives. Like, are they trying to, convert our children or what, these kind of things. So like kind of first, building that trust, with the community that this is not what we're trying to do. But over time, like, how somebody also stated that it takes generations to kind of change that kind of mindset towards having an education kind of mindset where everybody deserves that opportunity. So, when they would see it, like parents would see their children, they're tidy and they're in uniforms and they're studying and they come home and they know a little bit of math. So if the father's, got a little shop, the daughter can actually help with the accounting, and that would kind of give them the motivation. Okay, here's, this is beneficial to me and to my family, and there's nothing wrong with this. So like trying to approach it from like different ways. Another thing they were doing was like, what are the basic needs of these children? As mentioned earlier, these were underserved communities that these school leaders were serving. So, they would look at like, okay, free medical services. So like, they would affiliate with, for example, there's a couple of really good, like Ali Medical or Shifa Eye Trust. And those folks would come in their vans and serve not just the students, but everyone in the community who needed, medical services because they couldn't afford it. Child protection services was a big thing as well, because a lot of, children some communities had child trafficking going on. So these guys were like fully immersed in the community, and they were trying to, like, for example, a girl gets kidnapped. So they would pull in like, organizations like Sahar to, do child protection training so that you can kind of like implement, how do we not let this continue in our communities? Another thing that they were navigating was child labor, because, a lot of participants, like I said, underserved communities, are poor. They need 2 square meals on the table. They're not thinking of educating their children. So they had to go encourage parents, and also, proactive ways, like sometimes they would even provide them with ration or food, and children with nutrition, like good nutritious meals at school, so they could actually take advantage of. So like these school leaders were trying different holistic, a holistic approach to kind of like make sure that the community kind of changes its mindset towards educating their girls. And, another thing that they had was early marriage was also a prevalent, concern. And, they were trying to talk to the parents or talk to the father usually, and trying to like delay, how do we kind of delay this process of marriage? Because I mean, these are their values, right? They were also, what they were doing was placing their schools very close to the communities that they're serving, so that there's no problem of like transportation, like our girls are not going to go all the way to, like walk a mile to go to a school. So if it's like within reach, like, okay, it's down the road, these kiddos are allowed to, take advantage of the schools. So, I mean, there was a lot of challenges, but these school leaders were, as all of us on this forum seem to be, very passionate about creating more, gender equity to reach that place of equality and education and opportunity and inclusion within their schools and in their communities. And yeah, I can wrap it up over there. And I'd like to pass it on to Mehwish Niaz.
Thank you, Palwasha. It was a wonderful insight. And I'm happy that a lot of work that we try to do here is linked up to the wonderful stories that I'm hearing so far from my colleagues. So as I shared earlier, we run this small setup called Laureate Foundation. And the work that I do is primarily focused on providing civic education to address gender vulnerability in the country. Because an initial thought when we think of gender discrimination or inequality or inequity in Pakistan, that comes to our mind is why it is such a cliche to talk about these issues in Pakistan. In 21st century, in the digital age where people are trying to conquer the Mars, Aurat March is considered to be a sign of deprivation and unrealistic in the country. So having that mindset, as has been discussed within the group, has coming along through the generations. It's very difficult to pick up a group of young people and tell them that this is not right. It definitely requires a lot of field work before we get them together and discuss these issues. So the core program that we do here in Pakistan through our organization is Voices of Civic Champions, where we offer several courses through open call, and where the rural communities of youth is involved, we go directly to them and we select people with their interest and we conduct those courses there. So when it comes to open call, we provide them an opportunity to stay together from across the country and from all kinds of backgrounds, whether it's education, it's any other thing, to stay together, live at one place. We provide them with safe space, and we try to give them an idea of how it looks like when you have to respect another person's thought over certain things that we have been taught since our childhood is a sin to talk about. For instance, it's interesting and embarrassing sometimes at the same time when we when we see the rest of the world progressing so much and talking about Pakistan, we are not even willing to talk about women who are suffering, whether they are in universities or at grassroots level. And the younger generation has been transferred with that kind of attitude as well. So we provide them with a fusion or an amalgam of different techniques, and the pedagogy is basically focused on to discuss the idea of being an active citizen, but how they can play a vital role in the community. And we certainly do not only focus on women or young women or girls only. We try to bring a mixed group that includes trans and LGBTQ as well. I understand that I'm saying it openly where that strata of society is not acceptable, but they do exist, and we do have, we do approach them and we include them into our courses. So all gender presentation and representation is there. And we provide them with leadership courses. We provide them with how the citizenship process works, how a citizenship right and responsibility can be taken into an action when it comes to gender vulnerability, why it is important to discuss the discrimination happening with all genders and how the other gender would react to it, why it is important to understand that the conflict resolution is just not the situational process and situational idea to deal with or by the person who is facing it or the group who is facing it, but also how any gender can step in and address that issue being an active citizen. So this is what we do. However, when you reach out to younger generations, specifically from the rural background, I don't think that I'll be able to sort of differentiate between rural or urban youth at the moment. But I do feel that the idea of connecting with a radical mindset when it comes to gender is more vulnerable in the urban youth than it is in the rural youth, because they have no exposure to any other thing but to what they have been taught. On the other hand, young men or women per se from urban background, they do have an access to several thought processes. They have an access to technology. They can come up with their own mindset and a train of thought where they can express themselves, etc., on social media and other platforms. I believe that their understanding of gender equality is so confused, and we come across stories where young men have expressed that, I like a woman with a well processed thought process, but I'm not sure whether I would like to marry the woman, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't like to have a voice in my room when it comes to my wife. And they start from this kind of mindsets. And usually by the end of the courses, they definitely are considerate towards the rest of the gender and understand where the process is taking them. So it is always very interesting to involve men to take action for women, because at the end of the day, according to our researchers and our field work and our involvement with younger generation, having separate and segregated work done to address gender inequity in particular, I'm not talking about equality at the moment, has not been impactful. Involving men and specifically young boys to the process is definitely given us an opportunity to bring them on board and see how their thought process have been processed, because a lot of boys have always shared that this is not what my father taught me. This is what my mother taught me. My mother taught me not to cook. My mother taught me my mother provided me with more opportunities than my sister. And she wanted me to have a wife who's beautiful and can do all the household chores. So all these things are usually coming from our own folk and not necessarily from the other side. So I believe that my work is more focused on creating a debate and sensitizing all the gender to discuss their vulnerability in a safe space and come up with a brighter and more focused and elaborated idea of how to address things in a citizenship ecosystem where they have the rights to do that. And our groups are spread over the country from every city to almost every village. Not a lot in the province of Balochistan, though, because of security reasons, where we are not allowed to access the youth groups. So we invite them in any other province and discuss stuff. So I think civic education and citizenship process has led us to a lot of better things to do in terms of gender equity, because the idea of not providing things equally to both the genders has been working for Pakistan, but to create more opportunities for the gender where it is suitable for them. It's just like we have been calling people disabled, and now from MNCs to institutions to organizations, we know that those people are differently abled. So change definitely requires some time, but starting from a younger age and leading them to where they can lead the families and vice versa has always been helpful. I would like to nominate.
Thank you so much, Mehwish. Actually, Rakshanda wants to speak next because she has to leave. Thank you so much. Rakshanda, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was out of my workplace, sitting in a restaurant, so that's why I was a bit urgent. It was amazing hearing from all the speakers and their amazing work. So I would like to start a bit about the context, why I'm in this journey, why I'm working for women particularly. So when I was a small child, so I was very close to one of my aunts who is not, who is a disabled person and also a woman. And I see the journey, how rights are not equal for women, how things are not, equal to women. Women are suffering from different, what it called, women are victimized, they're the most vulnerable. So this is why I thought I should work on these work on these issues and work for other women. And this is how I started working with the women community from the very early stage of my career, and maybe when I was a student. So I started my work in this particular sector with the Google community. It's a women tech makers community. So where we try to educate women in the STEM sector. We know that we are talking about women empowerment in terms of how we can educate women or how rights are not equal, but we are forgetting how the future will be. The future is all about digital. The fourth industrial revolution is going on, and how much our women are prepared for the future job market. So if they are not prepared, if they are not getting the right education or the right quality, the right skills, the situation for the future will be, more serious, and there will be less job opportunities for them also. We know that in the job market, the gap of women and men are the number is, very, what it called, very very dangerous, right? It has been said that it will take more than 100 years to match the ratio about the number of women and men equal participation in the job field. So if the scenario is like everything will be digital, everything will be in blockchain, latest technology, so does our women are prepared for this future world? So this is how we thought that we should educate women in this particular sector, in working on STEM, and work with the all field who are in their career, who want to start their career, who are in their mid-career, in every profession. Either they can be from education background, or they can be journalists, they can be housewives. It's very necessary to educate them how to how to survive in the digital world. So all of our activities, all of our projects, we try to put technology there, and also try to innovate, also try to design projects based on that. We have been working with multiple projects with many national and international partners. So we did project with USAID, only totally focused on women, female university students, and how to stay safe in the digital world, or how to stay safe in the internet, how to keep their pride, how to keep safe in the digital space, how children can be how children can stay safe from the online predator. So these kind of things we are doing, and also There are a lot of programs, particularly for the journalist community. For example, doing fact checking and empowering women journalists, how to do fact check, how to use digital tools. And also there are a lot of programs we did with our multiple partners in terms of skill development, creating opportunities, job opportunities for women, and also developing content, particular content for them in terms of sex education, women's health, entrepreneurship. There's a particular women-centric projects that we did back in 2020 during the pandemic. So it was a very interesting program. It was named Start Coro program, where we worked with the Facebook and also UNDP. So where we trained women entrepreneurs and provide support for the entrepreneurs. Women should know about their rights, civil rights, and they also know about their digital safety. That's why we do a fellowship, a residential fellowship, where they get to know what's their right, right to speech, freedom of expression, digital rights, individual rights. So these are the very important things women need to know. Besides this, there are a lot of, as I mentioned, there are a lot of skill development projects. We created one project, we designed one project which name is Workathon. In this International Women's Day, we do one program with the EMK Center in Bangladesh. That's called Workathon. It's a concept where women who are in their third year or fourth year in the universities, they come and work in a environment and feel like working in an office, where they can work in a real project and understand how the work environment work and how they want to see their career. They get the mentorship support and the network. So through our project and services, we reach a lot of people. So through our project and services, we reach more than 30 million people, but particularly, just give me 10 seconds. So particularly if I consider about women, so what we do in terms of working with women, we try to collaborate a lot of partners with a lot of countries. So we also work with Pakistan in this area. We work with Pakistani tech communities here. We know a lot of Pakistanis there also to collaborate, and we did a lot of projects in terms of collaboration in community activities. It's great to collaborate and implement impactful projects with partners, with collaboration with other communities and countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry for interruption because we are short of time. That's why I was stopping you. But we would love to hear from you. So next, I think Kohinoor, you want to add something?
Okay, thank you. I would be very brave. First of all, I'm really moved by some of the things you said. And I agree with Palwasha 100%. Like, if you're an oppressor, you're harming yourself. You're not winning anything by being an oppressor. And back to, as for my organization, I work in a mainstream newspaper. It's not really a women-centric magazine or something like that. So we work on like 100 different issues, and gender equality is one of them. So I would like to give an example. Last year, I wrote a story. It was a personal essay. I wrote about why I want to be child-free. I'm a Bangladeshi woman, but I still want to be child-free. I don't want to become a mother. We exist. So I wrote this story, and then I was bashed right, left, center on social media. People were making comments like, your mother should have made that decision, so the world would be free of people like you. And also very nasty comments on social medias. And also I got some positive feedbacks as well. So the reason I'm mentioning this is gender equality, it's a huge umbrella. You cannot say like, first we need to fix the child marriage problem, then I need to fix then we need to fix the rape issues, then we need to fix domestic violence. Everything has to go side by side. So I wrote this story because I believe in the movement, my body, my rights. So I get this kind of comments a lot, like, you know, Bangladesh is not ready for this kind of stories, Bangladesh is not ready for that, or this, first you need to focus on child marriage. There are so many issues like rape, domestic violence, so we need to focus on that. So the reason, like I said, the reason I'm saying this, gender equality, it's like a vast umbrella and we have to touch like all the topics. So that's one thing. Also, as for my organization, it arranges workshops and training on gender sensitivity so that the people we work with become like, you know, more sensible. And also what we do, I feel we all should do this inside our office. I think we should talk to our male colleagues, because earlier, like, you know, we need to normalize things which are considered taboo for too long. Like if I get my period cramps or I need a sick leave for my period pain, I don't want to tell my male boss, you know, I got fever or I fell off the stairs and stuff like that. I directly tell him, see, I'm having my period and I need to take a day off. So this is the thing I feel we all should do inside our office. We should talk to our like male colleagues to normalize things. Also, what was the next question? So
So you can just add whatever you want. The questions were just to give you an idea what kind of discussion we can have. So you can comment on anything you want.
Okay. So also I want to give another example, like women empowerment. It's like a very complex issue. The definition should be locally tailored. Like worldwide, we're saying that homemakers, they should be respected. You know, we cannot tell them that they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there at home. They're not contributing to our economy and stuff like that. This narrative has to go. I 100% agree with that. But I also feel like in the context of our country, we should encourage women to get involved in, you know, income generating activities, because, you know, if today your husband dies or your husband leaves you, you might be homeless tomorrow because we don't have like a very strong social safety net. So the reason I'm saying this, you know, the whole concept of women empowerment, gender equality, gender equity, everything should be, you know, locally, the definition, all definitions should be locally tailored. So the definition of gender equality in my country is not same as the definition of gender equality in probably in Europe or in USA. I think that's my 2 minutes. Am I on time?
Yes, you are on time.
Okay.
So,
so you can nominate anyone if you want.
I guess Archana is left only. So she said that she wanted to touch on this question again. Okay, Archana, you want to, whatever you want to discuss, you can just, over to you, Archana.
Thanks, Rida. I didn't want to really barge in and get the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to keep my focus on this question because I really see this as an opportunity to share some, you know, strategic approach that we are taking to addressing gender equity, equality, and women's empowerment issue. First of all, I must say that, you know, so much amazing impact-oriented and, you know, really moving stories has come up from my earlier speakers. You know, I particularly wanted to touch on women's economic empowerment because women's economic empowerment is part and parcel of what I do as part of my job at the moment. And this is part of our programmatic thinking, programmatic approach. And that is also the reason why I really wanted to not miss this opportunity. Just telling a bit about our strategic approach to, you know, striking equity, forging equality and economic empowerment. These are largely based because we are also a skilling based job creation, you know, entity. So these are largely based on the gender analysis towards skill enhancement, towards employment creation, towards optimizing migration and remittance-based economy in a way that is inclusive. And these are areas that we as a program are focused on. But I truly think these are also the areas that can truly help optimize countries like Nepal, who are really largely migration and remittance-based economy, economy based. It's really important for countries like ours. So let me briefly touch on, like a conceptual framework that we have adopted. We use a three-dimensional domain approach to address gender constraints. And by three-dimensional approach, I'm trying to share, what we are looking at is, one, creating targeted assets, services, and opportunities for women and girls. Two, enhancing their personal and collective agency and voice. And three, creating an enabling environment where they can thrive sustainably, not just thrive momentarily. So I just want to briefly unpack this approach for a better understanding. As we mainstream our programmatic approach and investment as a private sector partner in availing access that can range from market linkage to skilling opportunity to job creation for women, we also strategize with our private sector partners to ensure that the personal and collective agency or the very ability of women to make decisions as individuals or as groups, or to be able to negotiate, are also enhanced. In the meantime, we work towards creating an enabling environment which can be both formal or informal, so the opportunities and the access can be best optimized. So just to share a data, only 22% of working age women are in paid employment in Nepal. And through our intervention, we are working to change that narrative, working with the private sectors in Nepal by understanding the transformational challenges that women face and addressing the key barriers and expand their livelihoods in non-traditional, not just in emerging job roles, such as the earlier speakers also mentioned, but also in the non-traditional job roles as well, such as in the IT, the future focus, the futuristic job roles, even in the labor market, job roles such as operating heavy equipment, mechanical job roles. So this is just like trying to unpack and, trying to say a bit of from a strategic point of view. Over to you, Rida. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Archana. So now we will just have a one-liner takeaway from the session. Like for me, it's gender equality and equity is that women should have the same right to work as a man. And you can just say in one-liner, what is gender equity and equality for you? So I will just nominate the names that are next to mine on the screen. So Mehwish, can you just give a one-liner for what is gender equality and equity for you?
Thanks, Rida. I think it's a wonderful question, and the confusion has always been there. I think equality has been very challenging term to address, but I feel that for me, it is not only providing me the opportunity, but I think it's time to address the equity where what I need according to my own abilities should be provided that way. So equality and equity should go side by side, but as women need it. So for me, equity is understanding their abilities and realizing their potential, and then create opportunities for them, and not just to provide them any other thing that will let them sustain with men.
Thank you, Mehwish. Archana, you can go next. Archana, can you hear me? Okay, Palwasha, you are next.
For me, in terms of gender equity and equality, I always feel like, so equity is like giving each person what they need to succeed. And for that, gender equity is very important to achieve that level of equality, whether it's in education or in offices or all around us. And I feel like the work starts from within, identifying what it is that where do you want to go, and then manifesting that change outside of you.
Thank you so much. Kohinoor, you're next.
I think for me, gender equality and equity is to acknowledge the gender diversity. It's not just about man and woman. It's also about trans women, non-binary person, trans person. And I mean, in a nutshell, we have to accept that we live in a gender diverse world. And also we have to accept that, you know, some people are just differently equal. If you have two apples, just dividing those two apples between two people, it's not equity. First, you have to acknowledge that who needs like, you know what.
Thank you so much. Wagma, you are next.
For me, I think equality is like the equal distribution of resources and opportunities, which is sometimes unfair, because sometimes we don't need things, but you are provided those opportunities. And equity is looking into the needs of any gender and then providing those resources or opportunities.
Thank you. Kajal?
Well, all individuals living in a respectful, fearless, inspiring, encouraging spaces is equality and equity, I would say.
Thank you so much. Lakshmi?
I think gender equality means no difference male and female and also other genders. And equity means any one of the resource or means which is help to for equality, any kinds of gender. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Archana?
Okay. Equity to me is something that's need-based, justice-based, context-based, tailored, and equity is something that also leads to equality.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your time and your participation. It was really an informative session for me, and I hope it will be informative for our audience too. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and goodbye from my side.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you so much. It was nice meeting everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Hello, Rida ma'am. Hello.
Yes. Hello.
May I talk with you?
Yes, sure, Lakshmi. But
our session was closed there, but can I talk you?
Yes, you can, but I think the call will end after 3 minutes, but you can talk.
Okay, I will talk.
You can text me on WhatsApp, then we can talk over there.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thank you.